Hello there, August 29th, 2014's weekly wrap-up. And step 65 of the advanced voice course is what was released this week. And it's all about tone coloring and using stylistic tools to get involved in the melody line in ways to change what's happening with the melody line without actually changing a single note in the melody line. That has to do with working with bringing your vibrato in and out at various places, knowing when to use vibrato at all, using no vibrato, using a lot of vibrato. All of those things are sort of covered in step 65. Also talking about dynamic contrast, talking about volumes and what you need to do to make it a little different. You know, if you sing something a little softer, you sing something a little with a little more volume, increasing the volume, increasing the resonance in your voice. These are all tone colorings, the ability to even change the sound of your voice. We all have that ability to make our voices sound in different ways. As a singer, you want to explore your inner sounds, working with the sounds that you can make that are unique, and changing up the sounds. There's been a lot of great, all great singers do it from moment to moment. There's blatant stuff that you can listen to. I always think Stevie Wonder is a wonderful example of someone who could really change his voice at will. If you listen to some of his old school stuff, you'll hear sometimes he would do what I call the Fat Albert voice. You know, he would get that kind of great big 360-pound gospel black guy voice going on there, and then other times he's just smooth and even and nice and easy and with this very high, smooth, wonderful rhythmic voice. And he could change that up in a split second. So, and you hear the same thing happening with all the singers. Patti LaBelle is another great example of going from a very kind of deep sound into almost immediately up in her high range into a very nasal sound that she can get. But when she does it, it's just awesome. Again, those types of things of exploring what your voice is doing, all of those types of things are mentioned and covered in step 65 of the advanced voice course. We are getting closer to wrapping it up. I keep on wanting to make sure that in this course I give you a lot of tools. And in the advanced voice course, if you look over the whole course, it starts off by starting to introduce you to all kinds of different scales and arpeggios that were never covered in the beginning or intermediate voice course. And what I did in the intermediate and beginning voice course was use a minimal amount of piano exercises, a minimal amount of sounds, so I could really get into just the exercises that help you discover how to sing over your bridges, keep everything connected, and build power in your range from the beginning to the intermediate. So what happens in the advanced voice course is a lot of that work is done, but it's only done to a minimal amount of chord changes. So in the advanced voice course, I wanted you to learn how to still cross over your bridges, but with all these different types of scale patterns. All of the blues scales, the major pentatonic, the minor blues scale, all of those sounds singing through your registers, minor 13th chords, major sevenths, minor sevenths, dominant sevenths, minor 7 flat 5 chords, all of those chords, the diminished sevenths, a little bit with the whole tone scales, all of that covered here in the advanced voice course. And now we've done that. If you vocalize through all of those, if you are a member, now at the end here, we're talking about the things that you can do with a melody line now that you have internalized all of these wonderful sounds. Well, I want you now to totally be a pro in relationship to understanding how to bring in various different techniques for variating the melody line. What we've done here in step 65 is to take different concepts of actually changing the tone color stylistically in various different ways by use of volumes, use of even patterns, but understanding how to take the patterns that you've learned in previous lessons and now change the tone color within those patterns. All of this is bringing things together. There's a little bit more about melody lines that I want to talk about. For example, I want to talk about phrasing. I want to get a little bit into really you getting into the lyrics and singing truthfulness and from your heart in relationship to the lyrics. Those are, so working with the text a bit. And then final words on rhythmic phrasing. Hey, I just gave you a hint as to what the last few lessons are going to be in the advanced voice course, because that's what we have left to cover, and then this course will be finished. So, just talking to you, hanging out with you here on a Friday, and letting you know what's going on. I keep on saying we're close to the end of the advanced voice course. Well, those are the last things that I feel I need to touch upon before I wrap up the advanced voice course. So I'm looking forward to bringing those in and working on those lessons right now, so you'll be seeing them soon. And meanwhile, while I'm also working on wrapping up with those lessons on the advanced voice course, don't forget soon you're going to be seeing some breakdowns and the My Girl Harmony Packet with Tony Lindsay singing lead. And I'm working on some lessons there too, and I'll start releasing them soon. Also, back to the harmony course, because there's plenty of information there, but soon we're going to be expanding upon the harmony course. I've worked in the harmony course. At this point in time, I've gotten up to 3-part singing and understanding how to vocalize to root, first, and second inversion with the harmonies. These are all important things if you're a harmony singer, and even as a lead singer. I always like to point out the fact that if you work a lot on harmony, you're automatically working on your lead vocals as well, because it's only going to add to your knowledge about how you can take a melody line and sing it in various different ways, like you would if you were harmonizing that melody line. And quite often what really good lead vocalists do is they will take the melody line and then move into a part of the melody line by varying it, by singing something that really would have been a harmony to the melody line. That happens all the time in singing. So I thought for the musical tip of the week, I would get into explaining a little bit about mix and getting a little more into that. And I have to explain that although things are similar, there are differences between talking about what to do with male mix and what to do with female voices in relationship to mixture. So I want to talk about the male mix here first. I'm a guy, it's easy for me to demonstrate that. So I'm going to start there, but I want to cover both. I think I'll cover male mix this week and female mix next week. So be on the lookout. But ladies, if you're watching this, don't just say, oh, I don't want to see this part because it's about the male. The more you understand how the human voice works, both for male and female, and same thing for you guys next week when I do the female stuff, listen to it, because it helps you understand the overall problems of voice no matter what your gender is, and that improves you. My knowledge of both gender in relationship to how the voice works helps me be a better singer. So anyway, I'm always explaining the fact, and both male and female can do this part, and that is just sort of feel the isolation. I've talked about this before, and I put this in musical tips. I'm going to quickly do this just to get us into giving you some ideas about male mix. So I always like to isolate the 3 parts of your voice. I use an O vowel sound because it's rounded in that shape, but really ultimately you have to practice all of the different vowel shapes, because each vowel shape creates a different shape both in the vocal tract and the way the voice box, the shape of the voice box as you're performing that particular vowel. But the O is kind of round and it's kind of not the widest and not the most narrow sound. So I like to use that one because it's just a good one to see how people do with it. So if I go in my chest, I find a low comfortable note. This is previous lesson. Oh, and where my voice folds, that's where my mix is sort of beginning and my chest is ending. Again, oh, right there. Oh. Now that part is where mix sort of comes in. But here's where you can start to work on something to help make mix easier. And that is, instead of just always starting there, oh, that's kind of my comfortable mix area without extending it. So I have what I call a comfortable mix and extended mix. Extended mix, I work a little harder and pull it up a little bit more, and it's more work. But don't want to have anybody do that until they can comfortably isolate these areas. Now back to what I was saying. If I know where my mix is starting now, and that's kind of the end of my chest voice. The trick is to feel what it feels like to sing and mix. Oh, and take that feeling down a little bit lower than you really would into chest. So instead of just going into chest, oh, and making a switch into your mix, which is what you really have to do when you're singing songs, depending upon the melody line, I want you to sort of bring your mix down lower than people normally would. The feeling of mix down a little bit lower, because it's easier to feel it there and the muscles can handle it way easier there. And then it's easier to start to pull it up a little higher. So if I go, there's mix, now if I go, and I'm not, that would be chest, that's more of the feeling of mix. I hope you can get this from me doing the demonstration, because I'm feeling something that you're not feeling by not being in my body as I do this. But I'm hoping that those of you that understand what chest, mix, and head is right now, that this lesson will help you. Now if I go, now I'm starting in lower mix, kind of in my chest voice area, and bringing it up to a very comfortable part of my mix. And the more I go back and forth and do that, the more my body accepts what that area of my voice feels like. Oh, oh, oh. And yeah, I'm still using a slide. Now, truth is, vocalizing with me in my studio, I would have you do this, but then I would have, I have many, many vocal exercises, piano exercises that you need to vocalize to start to be able to do this to various sounds and using various shapes. Now, what's actually happening when we do this is the vocal folds are lengthening. If they don't lengthen, that's the difference between being in your mix and allowing the muscles to sort of stretch and feel this coordination, as opposed to just singing harder and louder coming from your chest and trying to pull it up. It is possible by putting more and more air pressure that you can pull chest voice notes up in this area of your range, but it's hard on your voice. The vocal cords get tired, and that's what's called pulling chest. It's not letting the vocal folds do their natural stretching and elongating. Instead, it's staying basically at the same position of the vocal folds, but pulling up and going higher by increasing more and more air pressure, singing harder and harder and louder and louder. That's what people do who don't understand how this works. And although it can be used as anything, can be used as an artistic choice and maybe even sound a certain way that people might like, you're running the risk. If you do that all the time, or if you only know how to do that, you are definitely running the risk of hurting yourself. Now, the reason why getting good and really working out the air pressures in this middle voice area is because it's the connector between your lower and higher notes. If you can make a smooth transition from your chest into this area that I'm talking about, and then continue on up into your head voice with this smooth connection, and incidentally, it's easier to go from mix to head than it is from chest to mix. Because people confuse that a lot more. It's a lot easier to understand what's going on from your mix up into your head, because when you go into your head voice from your mix, you release into something that's way easier to do. But still, if you don't have strength in your head voice, which is another topic that I'll talk about another day, if you don't have strength in your head voice, then the transition from your mix up into your head will sound like strength to wimpy. And that's why people mistake head voice for falsetto and call it this the weak wimpy voice. But that's not true. You can put plenty of pressure and compression. Understanding how to bring compression into your vocal folds up into your head voice will really add to the quality of timbre and resonance, which will help balance what's going on between your mix into your head voice. Not just a little information there. We're basically talking mostly about feeling the air pressures in your mix area. This is very crucial to get good at this. And so again, my suggestion here, the tip of the week, is when you start working on mix, start in mix when you're practicing down a little bit lower than normally you think mix would be, more in the chest area. But don't pull chest up in the mix, come down, like start, oh. Now I'm coming down my mix, but I didn't really go into my chest there. That's another way of understanding it. So I'm in, oh. Now if I was to go into chest, it would be, oh. You hear that? I went into my chest voice. But don't go into your chest voice or go, oh. Ultimately, you want to be able to do that. That's what we're working towards. But to get better and feel more confident inside your mix area, you need to work really a lot in mix so it just becomes a comfortable place instead of a fearful place. Now, if you're on YouTube watching this, hey, if you understand what mix is, I hope that helps you a lot. If you want to learn more about chest, mix, and head and how it all is brought together so you can get a nice smooth transition from one part of your voice into another, or if you want to learn about singing songs, come on over to totallyvocals.com and you will sign up for the free membership if you want to, or just go ahead and get access and start learning. We have a beginning, intermediate, and advanced voice course. Also, many songs, and there's free previews at the tops of all of the different lessons. There's lessons about harmony singing. There's lessons to develop vibrato. There's lessons to ear train you. There's a jazz scat singing course. There's so much here that you can learn about singing. All of the topics of singing are covered over here on the site. So come on over, totallyvocals.com, and I hope to see you there soon.